like a Hellcat.
Hello and welcome back to the channel where once again it's time for another Sega Master System review. Now today we've got one of the real obscure titles on the system. I'm talking about the Master System version of Street Fighter 2, which saw a release in 1997, but it only came out in the Brazilian PAL territory. Once the game loads up, there is no introduction video at all, just a main menu with start and options. Options is basic stuff. Select the difficulty, choose whether there's time limits for the battles, and you can test all the music, sound effects, and voice samples within the game. So, heading into the character selection screen, you'll see you've got 8 of the fighters: Ryu, Ken, Chun-Li, Guile, Blanka, Balrog, Sagat, and Bison. You don't have all 12 of the original characters. Zangief, Vega, E. Honda, and Dhalsim do not make the cut. So like I always do, I'm going to start with the visuals, and initially you will probably think Street Fighter 2 is a fantastic looking game for the console because the character models look really, really good. They are as detailed as they possibly could be, and they're a pretty decent size as well. They're not the same size as the Mega Drive or the Super Nintendo, but they're pretty good for the console. Unfortunately, it stops there with them because the animations for them is not particularly good. There's so many frames missing, and it is really choppy and jerky looking in the way that it moves along. The backgrounds, though, are pretty faithful to the other versions. They do lack a lot of the detail, in all fairness, but they're recognizable. You know whose stage you're on. In terms of special move effects, yeah, they don't look as good as other consoles, but some of the moves do look pretty decent. Bison's and Blanka's special moves are pretty good looking. So overall in the visual department, whilst it looks pretty good stationary, once it's in full flight, it's not quite as impressive. So moving on to the sound effects and music next, and unfortunately we've got a bit of a mixed bag here as well because we've got some fantastic voiceover work that is really crisp and clear. He'll say the fighters' names when you select the character, he'll do a countdown, he'll introduce the rounds, which is really good because it's such good quality for the Master System. Unfortunately, there are no sound effects for any of the special moves within battle, and every hit that you make, punch or kick, has the same sound effects, so it gets really repetitive really quickly, and actually not having sound effects for your special moves takes away a big chunk of the atmosphere of the game, in all fairness. It's pretty disappointing. Now, in terms of the music, the Master System is capable of much better quality music than this. I'd have expected more because the Master System should have been able to replicate these tracks from the other versions of Street Fighter 2 pretty well. We've seen great music from the Streets of Rage games, Alex Kidd, even the Ninja has really great tunes. I just feel the quality of the tracks in Street Fighter 2 on the Master System is lacking, but what I'm going to do is, like I always do, is give you a few samples so you can decide for yourselves. So moving on to the gameplay, and there'll probably be no surprise when I tell you this is Street Fighter 2's weakest aspect on the Master System, because you've only got a 2-button pad, you've just got one punch and one kick, and as such it really doesn't feel like Street Fighter when you're playing it. It's got really poor hit detection as well, and you've only got access to 2 of your character's special moves, which are pretty inconsistent in being pulled off. Sometimes you don't even feel like you've done a command and your character's doing a hurricane kick across the screen. It's very, very strange, and it's very irritating, and you'll also realize that there are ways to kind of trap the CPU at the side of the screen and just continually spam a punch or kick and take their health down until you defeat them. Another thing you'll notice is you only take damage for 1 every 2 hits on this game. So you'll hit the character and deal damage, and then hit them again and it will do no damage, and then the next hit will do damage, and it repeats like that. It's very strange. I've no idea why that was implemented into the game, and it makes the game take longer than it should to complete. Perhaps that was the reason, because without it you'd blast through it so fast that you'd really feel like you'd been shortchanged. So overall, in the gameplay department, Street Fighter 2 on the Master System is, no surprise, pretty lacking. So moving on to content and lifespan, and what you've got here is 3 difficulty settings: easy, normal and hard, and 8 selectable characters, which does sound quite respectable. Unfortunately, the downside is the move selection list for each character is so cut back from other versions, it means the game has nowhere near the depth and actually feels very shallow to play. You'll probably find yourself beating loads of characters just by doing jumping kicks over and over again. Now, in terms of its lifespan, again, it's not very good because there's not a lot to see. Because when you complete the game with each character, there is no ending sequence for your character. You just see the well done screen with the 3 boss characters, and that is it. The game doesn't even have an introduction sequence at the start, so overall its content and lifespan is really disappointing, and there's not a whole lot to keep you coming back. I should mention though that you can have 2-player battles. If the second player presses the button during the character selection screen, you can have 2-player matches. There's no dedicated versus mode or anything like that, so it really is just a minor addition to the lifespan of the game. So like always, that leaves us with our 2 final questions. Is Street Fighter 2 on the Master System worth playing? And where does it come in our Master System top 10? Now, I can't really recommend this to play because there are so many other versions of Street Fighter 2 readily available that are far, far cheaper if you wanted a physical copy. It makes playing and hunting down the Master System version completely redundant. It's only worth a quick playthrough if you're wondering what it's really like for yourselves, and I'm telling you, it's not a great game. Now, where does it come in our Master System top 10? It's a tough question because we've got 6 games in there so far. My Hero's number 6, all the way up to Streets of Rage at number 1. I do feel Street Fighter 2 is better than My Hero, but then it's coming up against Streets of Rage 2, which isn't a particularly good game, but I do feel overall that is better than Street Fighter 2 on the Master System. So Street Fighter 2 is coming into our current top 7, I should say, at number 6. Now, it probably won't stay there very long because once we get onto the other big hitting games on the system, they will no doubt knock this well out of the top 10. But of course, that's just my thoughts and my thoughts alone. If yours differ, let me know down below with a comment as always. And I will be back in the near future with another Master System review. Goodbye for now.